The meeting is now called to order. This is Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting for Thursday, June 8th, 2023. I am Letitia Bracy, Councilmember at Large. At this time, I will call the rolls for those members of the committee first. Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilman White, Councilman Nathan Field, 8th District, Councilwoman Brigida Fields, Councilman James Spadola,
Present.
and Council President Trippy Conco.
Here.
As a friendly reminder, only members of the committee should be making motions and seconding. The first item on the agenda is a resolution approving the grant of an easement in the 17th Street right-of-way to Tower Hill School Association to make certain street improvements. Is there anyone on the line to speak to this resolution?
Vince Croce, Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Public Works. I'll be speaking to the resolution.
The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. So this easement would be for Tower Hill School for work that they will perform on 17th Street between Tower Road and Rising Sun Lane. They are going to be adding cobblestones in front of the main entrance and two side entrances of the school building that will go in the right-of-way, and also crosswalks from the school to the athletic fields and parking lots. They will be brick as well. Two new brick walkways with curb bump outs before Rising Sun Lane at Tower Road for pedestrian crossings. They will also be adding new signage, planters, and plantings, including additional trees and stormwater inlets within the roadway as well. The plans have been submitted to our transportation engineer as well as our paving engineer for review, and the department concurs with the plan that Tower Hill School has for 17th Street.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions from members of council? If none, is there
Madam
any?
Chair.
Oh, Councilman Spadola.
Thank you. Good evening, Deputy Director. Was this taken to the Highland Civic Association and presented to them?
I've not been involved with it the whole way. I'm not sure if the schools discussed that with them or not.
Okay, so how could we, I mean, so is that a no or yes, or I don't know?
I can't comment on whether or not this went to this association because I wasn't involved with it at that point. Whether or not the school has met with their neighbors to discuss, the road is still going to remain open. This is just to essentially formalize some crossings in there to slow traffic to make it safer for drop off of children going into school.
Sure, I understand that. It does sound innocuous, but there is a lot of history between Tower Hill and the Civic Association. So I think I would recommend that before it is taken to the full council for a vote, that the Civic Association has time to speak on it.
Let me comment further on the councilman. I just received information back from our others in our department that they have discussed the project with Dennison Hatch, and that we were it has been discussed with the association.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council members? Okay. Are there any, seeing none, are there any questions from members of the public?
Yeah, I do have one question.
Councilwoman Oliver?
Vince, we could talk offline about slowing down the traffic on 25th and 26th Street. So I just wanted to throw that out there where Mr. Earl Tate is, and he's been asking for this for a while. So we're supposed to follow up on that, please.
Okay, I thought we had agreed we were going to put a stop sign there on that and all stop at that intersection. Has that not occurred? I gave that to transportation.
Yeah.
They were going to put that in.
Yeah, no, it hasn't occurred. That's why I mentioned it. I was over there. I
I'll
can go
follow-
back tomorrow. I go back tomorrow and double check because I saw Earl out there again, stop, doing his traffic as he normally does.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
follow up with transportation when this meeting is
Oh.
over.
I'm sorry, we
Okay, thank you.
must stick to the items on the agenda. Thank
I
you.
apologize. Sorry about that. My fault.
Any other questions from council members? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, since this is a resolution, it doesn't need to be moved out of committee? Correct, okay. So thank you, Vince.
You're welcome.
The next item on the agenda is a presentation by Delmarva Power. Is there anyone to speak to that?
Good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody see me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Dara Austin. I met majority of you who are on this call, but if not, I am the Senior Public Affairs Manager for Delmarva Power. I manage our government affairs, community and customer relationship, as well as our brand. And we're doing a gas presentation for the city of Wilmington, all of the gas work upgrade. And the current people that I do have with me, and I asked, can you add them as panelists so that they're able to speak to the presentation as well? So of course we have Beatrice, and Beatrice, I don't want to mess up your last name, and she's the project manager. And then also I have Jeff Miles, he's the senior manager for our gas engineer. And then also Vanetta is also on there. Can everyone please, or I'm not sure who is adding additional people, but can you add them as panelists, and then they'll be able to speak as well. But whilst everyone is doing that, the project for the gas project, we want to give an overview. So everyone of council understands what we're doing for the gas main upgrade. We also want to talk of highlighting the areas that will be served for this year. The project is expected to last until probably 2026. And with that, we just want to give instruction on how we're going about the project, how we would accomplish it, the tools that we will use, what to expect, as well as just showing you some examples of what the visors will look like that we're putting out there. So just in case your constituents ask you any questions, then you will be able to help explain to what is happening in the area, and you'll be more informed. So at this time, I will like Jeff Miles, and I hope he was added.
Ms. Austin, can you repeat the names for the control team of who needs to be added?
Sure. So you have Jeffrey Miles.
Yes, I am here. Sorry, I just got added as a panelist. I was restarting it. So,
All
And
right.
Beatrice?
And then
there you go. Can you hear me? See me?
I see you. And then Beatrice. Can you add Beatrice to this?
Okay,
She's
they're working on it now.
Hi, I'm here as well.
Excellent. And then Vanetta Carter. Can you add her as well?
Okay, they're working on it.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so Jeff, I'm gonna pass it over to you so that you can start the presentation, and then also too, just give the cue when you want the slides to change,
Yep.
and then that will happen.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much, everyone, for having us here today to talk to you about our renewal project. I'm sure you're very familiar in some ways with a lot of the construction we've been doing, but this is very timely. We're coming down to the kind of home stretch of a very long program that's been going on for probably close to 20 years now, with just a slow evolution of upgrading our mains within the city. So if you could please go to the next slide, I can try to explain some of the what's and the whys. So our goal is really replacing a lot of the aging infrastructure within the city of Wilmington. So it's replacing of our low pressure gas main. It's predominantly cast iron main. There's a little bit of older plastic and steel within the city, 1900s to 1950s. There is some older than 1900 and some that's a little bit newer than the 1950s, but primarily in the 1900s and 50 range is what we're replacing, as well as what we're replacing it with is it's a high pressure polyethylene pipe. And then there's also the the older services, which are steel services. It's some steel, some plastic, and as well as being upgraded to the new high pressure polyethylene pipe. I'm a little hoarse today with a lot of the air being in the city, so I apologize for not coming. If I'm clearing my throat, I apologize for that. So it improves the reliability. Really, our high pressure system is looped very, very well. And if there's any interruptions, blips within the system is designed to handle that a lot better in the winter conditions and even summer when maybe say a hit line or additional other emergency might happen within on the system. It's also less prone to leaks. You know, the polyethylene pipe, essentially it's a plastic pipe that is continuous versus the cast iron, which tends to be mechanical joints, which are more prone to leaking. Some of the safety improvements that come with these new installations is overpressure protection with the regulator at every single house. Our desire is to relocate those meters and the regulators outside of the house. The regulator will be outside of the house. That's actually is mandated that it must be relocated outside. And we're installing excess flow valves on every service. So at the main where we install the main down the street, there is a valve at that at that connection that in the event that someone were to sever the service, whether it's a homeowner installing a fence, someone installing a curb, whatever it might be. Sometimes landscapers are digging up for a tree, hit that line, it'll shut off the gas flow at the main and prevent the escape of gas. If you could go to the next slide, please. So what's the house, right? So actually there is a directional drill machine that we have that you may see out there in some projects. There is a number of jobs that is open cut. But so the priority for us really is to try and minimize the disturbance to customers. We will be saw cutting the roadway so we can install the main. And, we will drill in some areas with the new plastic main in that machine that you'll see there. And then the new service risers, we will go from the main. Our preference is to what it's called a missile. Some people call it a mole, is to install from the main. And we basically shoot the missile across underneath of the lawn or under the sidewalk, and then be able to bring it up at the house or at the residence, the customer's residence there. We will insert sometimes if, let's say, you have a 1-inch service coming to your house. If possible, we will insert the new gas service, which is a 1/2-inch service, up to the house to try and minimize the impact to the sidewalk, to the roadway, your lawn, whatever it might be. We will contact the customers to schedule this work. So there's going to be a loss of gas service for up to 6 hours. We try and minimize that as much as possible. We'll coordinate with the customer to be able to get into their house, see if it's an inside meter, see what that looks like, and then talk with the customer about, we want to relocate this to this location and make sure that we have some of their feedback. So for services that are located outside, we talked about, again, access and trying to make that final connection to the home. And approximately half of our services within this territory of what's being renewed is already located outside. So for some people, there won't really be a change. We don't have to access their property. We'll let them know we're coming out to your property, try and schedule a date. The big piece is after we relocate renew the service and relocate the meter and regulator, we need to get back in the person's house to be able to relight their appliances. We check to make sure everything's safe, there's no leaks within their appliances, and that everything's returned to them in a safe manner as well. Next slide, please. And I'm going to turn this actually over to Patrice so that she can cover kind of the schedule and the whens that you'll expect to see throughout the year.
Thanks, Jeff. So the project that we're doing this year is covering a few neighborhoods. We have Brandywine Hills and Holland Park North. Both of those started in the middle of April. We have Holland Park South, which is starting next Tuesday. Market and Pine and Church and 11th both started at the end of April, beginning of May there. We're hoping to go through and complete everything by Thanksgiving. There are some things that could affect that schedule. When we're digging, we may encounter some rocks. Sometimes that can slow things down. So we try to move quickly when we don't have any issues, just to make up for any possible things that may affect timing. Final restoration performed on East Street after services are completed for that street. So that includes, the topsoil, any seed, straw mulch, if any sidewalk has been affected, or patios, that sort of thing. We also, on the street, we do concrete road base and a hot mixed asphalt. And then the final mill and paving of the street will happen by the city. And that ideally should happen within 12 months of the project completion. You can go to the next slide.
So just giving you some examples of what you'll see in the field when we're finally done. So you can see, a couple of three examples of relocated meters and regulators. Some are on the side, some are on the front, depends on what part of the city we're in. And we try to, kind of keep it conspicuous and lower to the ground as much as possible with the equipment. And then if you go to the very next slide, this is some of the cover. So if there is a meter that's in an area that the customer would like some screening, there are different options. We have contractors we work with, and they can come out and provide a few different options there to try and provide that screening so that we can, provide some type of, landscaping to hide that away from their general view and keeps it so that it doesn't look like just a piece of equipment on the front of their house. And we understand that as well, and we can work with them. Again, our contractor comes out, lays out, here's some different options, here's what the catalog kind of looks like. I mean, I don't remember exactly, it's about 5 or 6 different options here. This is just a few of them. And he'll be able to, schedule that to come back and set that up for them. And then if we could go to the very next slide. This is related to the outreach. So this is a letter. This is a sample of what the letter will look like. We'll send this out. There's a company that works as a contractor for us at the outreach center. We do have a Delaware number that the customer can call back in to schedule the appointments. It's just a call center that helps schedule it's called Precision Pipeline Solutions. They send out these as mass mailings for us to anybody that's affected by the construction. They can call back in. There's an email address there as well. And that allows us to schedule. It talks about the pre-work survey. And then when our person is out there doing a pre-work survey, they can also talk about the timing of when we'd like to get back in to do the actual physical work in their house to relocate that service. And then on the side, if the person is not home, we'll do door knocks. We have our crews out there all the time. They're knocking on the doors, seeing who's home. And that door hanger is also hung on the person's door so that they can also call in. So we're trying to go through a few different avenues to contact the customers to try and make sure we're being timely and communicating with them our need to access their property. And then I want to close real quick. There's just a series of 3 slides here. Go to the next slide. And this is 2023 scope of work. Excuse me. So you have Brandywine Hills, Church and 11th, Harlem Park North and South, and Market and Pine. You can see the color coding there for what's coming this year. And then if you go to the very next slide, this is 2024. So there's our 4 projects for next year. And then 2025, well, I'll say, so this one here, it looks a lot larger than it kind of is. It's the final cutoff. There's a lot of areas where, we talk about the low pressure trunk lines. This is areas that really have kind of already been worked. And this is the final cutoff. So that's why it looks like so much more of a set of main, but it falls right in line 2025 with the normal 8.5 miles of main that we're replacing in a year. It's 1,800 services, which is all within our normal scope of work. It's that this is all the final phases, and we're hoping to be done 2025. There may be some parts that also carry into 2026. There's a lot of different factors that can delay some different work. So, I would anticipate there could be stuff moving into the first half of 2026 in that way. And then once we're done there, the whole city's been upgraded with a cast iron and all for the low pressure system. So I'll take any questions anybody might have related to the presentation. We can go back and look at slides if you need to as well. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. I do actually have one question. How are you
Yes.
communicating with renters and landlords? So, there are a lot of homes that are rented, that are rental properties. So the service, the Delmarva River Power service, may be in the renter's name, but then you're coming out and doing work that is, their landlord's property. So have you taken into consideration of making sure that the communication is going to the property owner, or are you just talking to whoever answers the door?
We're communicating with really the person, just in paying the bill, basically. They're the person that we need to get access to make sure we can work with them to access the property. There is rules within the tariff that allows us to make sure we have access to that property. And that's our primary focus, is to making sure that we can get that, working with that equipment and that person to make sure we can relocate it and have as minimal impact to their heat usage or cooking usages as possible.
Okay, thank you. And one last question for me. Have you reached out to any of the community or civic associations so that they can let their neighbors know to expect, to hear from you guys? So I think the more that we're able to reiterate that this, someone knocking on the door with the Delmarva Power, badge this is legitimate, the better.
Yeah. Nadira, do you want to field that one?
Yes. So what we do after we're reaching out to the residents, we also reach out to those councils of that area so that they're aware of what's happening, so that when their constituents reach out, that they can inform them the information. And that's why we really wanted to do the presentation today, because that will allow you to get more information, to be able to help facilitate and educate the customers of what's happening. So any additional questions regarding that?
Any council members have any questions?
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Oliver?
Yes. How you doing, Ms. Austin? First, I'd like to thank you for the outstanding job you're doing with your new position, period. But I do want to state that I was reached out to regarding knocking on the doors on the east side, and I just shared that at one of my civic association meetings. My question is if you can make sure your contractors are telling individuals in certain zip code areas that they are able to receive whatever communications. You just showed some flower pots, some boxes, not communications, but some other planaries to block the big boxes, because at one of the meetings, several people mentioned, and I will send over their addresses, that the boxes were rather big and they didn't have a choice. So maybe the contractors are telling certain zip codes what they are eligible to receive, and then maybe certain zip codes, they are just putting them up and not telling the individuals who live there what they are eligible for. Because I received at one meeting, 3 individuals complained about the boxes and they thought they were rather big and bulky. And if someone has shared that, and I even said, well, maybe call them and see if you could put a screen. So evidently your contract is not sharing that with certain individuals. So I would like for that to be noted.
Yeah, if you can send those addresses over, I'll ask I'll ask our contractor to take a look at that, definitely, to make sure we resolve that. Yeah, that's not a major issue.
Well, it's not a major issue to you, but it is a major issue if they're
I
complaining
understand
about
that,
it.
yes.
I'm just saying, excuse me, I just don't want to minimize.
Oh, yeah,
You know
I'm
what
not
I
trying to
mean?
minimize. I can definitely, I don't want to, it's something we can definitely quickly resolve.
Oh, okay, I got you. Oh, you said that's
Oh,
something
yeah.
you can handle.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay, because I'm sorry, because I'm like, they were complaining
Yeah.
big time, so it may not be
No,
a
no.
major issue to you, but it's a major issue to me when constituents are complaining about having bulky boxes, and this is the first I've ever
Yeah.
heard it. So I just wanted
Yeah.
to put that out there. Secondly, until lately, some of the jobs there hasn't been flaggers, and I was calling and putting in complaints. But lately, I've been seeing them on 11th Street. On the east side, I've been seeing flaggers. But I think that's mandatory for all these projects that flaggers are out there, because I took pictures. I called John Rago. It was not flaggers on two jobs, and the whole road was backed up. And I'm like, what's going on? When I got out the car, the guy was saying they don't have flaggers today. So that should always be mandatory for these contractors, whoever's doing the work. Delmarva Power's doing the work. It
Yeah,
should be contractors.
I know we've been
and
doing
that's all.
some
Thank
lane
you very much.
shifts more than, or less, sometimes there's road closures, things like that. But yeah, if you have a location of that too, we can definitely talk to our contractors about making sure we have flaggers available.
Okay, thanks a lot. Have a good one.
And just to add,
I'm
I'm sorry, and just to add,
Yes.
Councilwoman
Okay.
Oliver, and just adding on to Jeff's statement. So his reference was just to send us the information of regarding those who are complaining of the big box well meters that they're seeing. So that way, it's not a big issue for us just to contact them and reach out to see how we can resolve it. So we can easily resolve it by putting a planter in front of it. And then that way we can work through the process. So you actually, everybody, all the council have my information that anybody who complains to you, please send it my way. And then I will work it through with our team to make sure that we resolve it. And then at the same time, even with the flaggers, we'll look into that too. So once we have that information, you could just send all of that to me and we'll make sure that we'll get that taken care of.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bracy, for hosting the meeting, chairing the meeting for me tonight. I had to go to an event. Was it your birthday? I see birthday balloons. in the
So it was
background.
my birthday a little bit ago, so a few weeks ago. But my family,
Oh, okay.
but my family wanted me to keep the balloons up in my office, so that's why you continue to see it.
Okay, y'all have a good evening. Happy belated. Thanks for coming out. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Are there any other questions from council members? Seeing none, are there any questions from the public or comments? Seeing none, thank you guys for informative presentation and for being here
You're
with us tonight.
welcome. And
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having
Reach
us.
out if you need
Appreciate
us.
it.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. And at this time, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second, Councilman Spadola? Second.
You can just adjourn.
Oh, meeting's adjourned. Have a good evening.